The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. If you were to do a relationship audit of your life and your circles, personally and professionally, how would that reflect the overall quality of your life? Can there be changes made? What changes should be made? So that's something to think about. What is going on, EQ gangsters? I've got some great reminders and lessons learned from my 25-year West Point reunion that we just had this past weekend. 300 of our classmates showed up, so a third of the class, and then 200 spouses, children, that kind of thing. So a total of 500 people. And there were 9 other West Point classes that had their reunions that same weekend at the Army Air Force football game, which fortunately the Army team won in overtime. So a good old Army team likes to wait to the last minute a lot of times. It was great. It was fun. Great game. It was in Dallas. I don't remember the name of the stadium. New stadium. I guess it was built right next to the AT&T Cowboys Stadium. And again, amazing experience and so much fun seeing all of our classmates. For those of you all that are interested in taking your emotional fitness game to the next level, check out eqgangster.com. In the eqgangster.com website, there'll be a spot there where it says Join the Mafia. If you want to have a safe, supportive, encouraging community that equips you with emotional awareness tools, emotional management tools, and social awareness, social management tools as well, please check us out at eqgangster.com. And again, click on Join the Mafia. If the Mafia is currently open, you'll be able to register. If the Mafia is closed, you'll be able to get put on a wait list until we open it back up again. So we've got some amazing keynotes coming up. In fact, this month, one of the keynotes is going to be from a gentleman by the name of David Knapp. He is one of the greatest teachers I've ever met in my life, and I've seen a lot of people teach and instruct over the years. He's an amazing teacher, has amazing insights. He will be covering the grief process and the mourning process, how to do that well, and how to help other people through that process well also. So definitely encourage you all to, again, register, join the Mafia, EQ Mafia, so you can get a chance to check out that keynote. It is going to be amazing. If you have not checked out some of the previous interviews that I've done, also highly recommend going back and listening to some of those previous interviews I've done with some amazing leaders, some amazing people in the area of emotional intelligence, discussing different aspects of emotional intelligence. And we've got a great lineup also for the EQ Mafia in December. We're going to have a lady discuss, a subject matter expert discuss how food can impact our emotions. This may sound crazy to some of y'all, but I've never thought about that in my life. Somebody who has never met food that I don't like, I've never even considered how food impacts or affects my emotions. That's December. January, we have an emotional intelligence expert and big influencer on Instagram, life coach. Also going to be our guest speaker in January. Potentially in February, we've got a CEO that I have been working with and alongside in the area of emotional intelligence, leader development, share some of his insights on the impact that emotional intelligence has had on his life. And that'll be potentially for February. So we've got a great lineup just for the next 90 days, next few months. And we are working on building it out, of course, the rest of the year as well. We've got some great folks that we are going to reach out to and connect with to be a part of the EQ Mafia. Okay, lessons learned and reminders of from the West Point 25-year reunion. And I'm just going to go through very quickly. I may elaborate on some, I may not. You may want to have a paper and pen or your laptop that you can take notes from. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for watching us on our YouTube channel, listening to our podcast, EQ Gangster. Thank you for rating, reviewing, and subscribing. If you haven't, man, I'd love it if you wouldn't just pause real quick, take 15 seconds, 20 seconds to just rate and review us on our podcast. That would be super dope. Really appreciate it and be very helpful for us as well. Okay, how important, so here's, let me start. I'm going to start the list here. And there are quite a few here, so just be ready. Like more than 25 or 30, maybe 40. I didn't count the full list, but it's going to be quite a few. What were some great reminders and lessons I learned from this most recent reunion, 25-year reunion? Number one, how important relationships really are. Of course, that's never been, I feel, more poignant than the past 2 years now, year and a half to 2 years with this COVID stuff going on. So, and the folks that have done this social, social isolation and separation and all the stuff, the masks and everything, how important relationships really are mentally and emotionally. And you could even argue physically as well. Next one, relationships are good for the soul. I was talking to one of my classmates. He's this great big giant black dude, super guy. This guy is kind of funny, man. This is a whole nother conversation. His name is Ed Stover. And he's turned into almost like the class godfather. No kidding, man. He's this big giant dude, and he's probably 6'3", 6'4". I'm a big guy myself, and he makes me look like a pretty small guy. So he maybe even be 6'5", 6'4", so 6'4" plus or minus 6'5", and probably I'm 250 on about 250. He's probably, I don't know, maybe 300 pounds. And he former football player on the team, the Army team, and he's just turned into like the team, the class godfather. Just, I don't know, he convey, he's got this presence, this almost godfather type presence, and when you get around him, you just know that he loves you and that he cares about you. I haven't put a finger on it yet. On how he does it. It's been fascinating, especially as a people guy and an emotional intelligence guy and a leadership guy, to study the impact. He reached out to me during one of my funks. I was in a valley not too long ago, and he reached out to me out of the blue. We haven't talked since school. 25 years we haven't talked, and the guy reached out to me out of nowhere. It wasn't an hour, it was 10, 15 minutes. Hey, Noble. Hey, bro. I know we haven't chatted. You said you're having, rough time, whatever. Talk to me. What's going on? How you doing? And I was like, dude, I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed that here's this guy. We haven't talked. And it wasn't like we were even homies at school. Not that we weren't homies. Just, he was a core squad varsity, football, played for the Army football team. I was a, scrub. I was not a, I played on the old intramural football team. And so, he was kind of a VIP at school, and I was in the, thank God I graduated part of the school, my class, and here he was again, 20 some years later, and the guy took 15 minutes out of his time. So, I mean, how do you think that made me feel? And anyway, I'm just going on and on about Big Ed, but just an incredible guy, incredible man, incredible leader, incredible dad. And so obviously he clearly had an impact on me for a couple reasons, right? Again, one, from the phone call a few months ago, but then also just at the class, just watching other people. He had this suite at the hotel, and we stayed at it's called the Gaylord Texan, which is amazing. If you've never stayed at a Gaylord hotel, they have them all over the country. It was amazing. And so he kind of opened up his suite, and anybody from the class kind of any time of the day could go and hang out and just fellowship and connect. And, again, just, and any of my classmates who maybe happen to listen to this, I don't know that there'll be many that do, but if they do, man, reach out to Big Stove and tell him just what an amazing guy he is, and what an amazing leader he is, and what an amazing man he is. And just, and I'm going to tell him myself too, but, just in terms of the impact, and I've told him just the impact he's had on me. But anyway, so he's had a major impact on me and a lot of my other classmates, which is great. And I want to maybe even study Big Ed and just see, like, man, how can I want other people to know that I love them and care about them as well. And, how can I be more effective at that? And he clearly, I don't know, it's just fascinating, man. I need to have Big Ed on my podcast. That's probably what I'm going to do at some point, if he's open to it, is maybe interview him on, on relationships. Maybe that's what I'll do. That's a great idea, actually. So, and so how I even came up with his name, I saw him on the way out, leaving the hotel. When my wife and I were on the way out of the hotel, I saw him, and I just gave him a big giant hug, and I said, man, Ed, it's great to see you, bro. And he said, man, this was good for me. And, this weekend. And I said, man, it was really good for me too. And I said, man, it was good for my soul. He's like, oh, dude, that's exactly right. It was good for the soul. And that's a whole nother thing to chew on and think about. Why was it such a deep impact on both Ed and myself? What was it about that weekend, or the people, or both? The timing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like what, anyway, that's a whole nother interesting conversation. Next, my old pastor back in the day shared, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. If you were to do a relationship audit of your life and your circles, personally and professionally, how would that reflect the overall quality of your life? Can there be changes made? What changes should be made? So that's something to think about, doing a relationship audit in your life based on that point there. Next one, when you sow into relationships without expectations, you can reap 30, 60, 100-fold return. For example, I unexpectedly received and reaped so much this past weekend. So many of my amazing classmates made me feel loved, seen, valued, and appreciated. And I will be forever grateful. Again, folks that I haven't seen in 5 years. I went to the 20-year reunion. I've been to most all the reunions except for one throughout the years. But even still, classmates I haven't seen in 20 years, 25 years, and they just made me feel like $1 million. And it fed my soul. It was soul food. Like legit, it was soul food. The next one, the right relationships can change your mood. They feel loving, accepting, and non-judgmental. That's how it felt to when I saw Ed, Big Ed. Again, I gave him a couple big bear hugs over the weekend, and being around the guy, man, I just felt loved and accepted and non-judgmental. And it fed my soul. So Big Ed, if you ever listen to this, bro, I love you, man, and I thank God for you. And I appreciate you for reaching out when I was in my valley, and then just for making all of our classmates, bro, just feel tremendously loved and appreciated and valued by you, bro, just in your being and just how you roll, man. So I just appreciate you, brother. So next one, as right relationships can change your mood, unhealthy or toxic relationships can also change your mood. Unhealthy or toxic relationships can also change your mood. Next one, judgmental relationships feel very oppressive to me. After being in transactional, conditional, judgmental relationships for 20 plus years, I no longer choose to be in those relationships, regardless of the possible financial benefits. When you increase your emotional self-awareness, you can begin to increase and create healthy, emotionally healthy, productive boundaries personally and professionally. And this is one of my new boundaries. I am not spending time with transactional, conditional, or judgmental relationships, regardless of the financial benefit. I just am not, that's not where I'm going to invest my time. For me, time is more than money. And I mean that. Next one, let's see. A hug can change a person's entire demeanor for the better. For those of y'all that have been around me, you guys know I'm a second generation hugger. I even have a podcast episode dedicated to me being a second generation hugger, learning it from my dad, who oddly enough reminds me a lot of my classmate Big Ed I was just talking about. My dad was a big guy, 6'4", 285, 300 pounds on some occasions, and just the biggest teddy bear. He ER doctor, emergency room doctor, and when a patient was freaking out, or when he'd see a patient for the first time, now this is 20 years ago, I don't know that he'd be able to pull it off now, he would just give him a hug, like a genuine, fully emotionally present body hug, a bear hug. And because he was so big, I mean, it was like he engulfed them in just peace. And literally you could see their entire demeanor change, their whole body, their energy, everything changed. It was just a fascinating experience to watch. A hug can change a person's entire demeanor for the better. Next one, smiles are contagious. Again, those of y'all that know me know that when I see people, especially people that I know, I love people, and especially people that I know. And it was like I was walking around constantly smiling because I was surrounded by people that have blessed me and impacted me that I knew from school, obviously. And I was always smiling. It just felt good. And when I'd see other people smile, it'd make me want to smile. So smiles are contagious. And it also improves your face value. Boom, boom. That's a dad joke there, but it's true. Next one, the quality and caliber of my classmates is mind-boggling, and it's humbling. It's humbling to I have some classmates. It's honestly, it is mind-boggling the quality and caliber of the classmates that I've got, and it's amazing. The heart of these people, the character, the integrity, the leadership, the intellect, the vision, the capacity, it's just amazing. It's humbling to know some of these classmates of mine, to be in the same class, man. It's just a humbling experience, but they are phenomenal men and women that I'm blessed to know. Next one, a small unexpected gesture can be life transforming. One of my classmates went up to the mic. They were having a dinner. There was a class dinner with all 500 people, 300 classmates and 200 family members in this big giant room. It seemed like the majority of the class was there, of the 500 people. And one of my classmates went up. There was a mic at the front of the room, and so it's a whole big giant room full of round tables, 100, 200, 300 round table. I don't know how many round tables, a lot of them. And one of my classmates went up to the front of the room, once the meal and all the formalities and stuff were done, and folks were just kind of hanging around socializing, and she went up and asked for me by name. Hey, if anybody, sees Noble, I haven't seen him yet. I want to see him before this is over. And it just worked out that I was walking in. I missed some of that because we were at a West Point real estate conference that had asked me to speak on emotional intelligence. So I missed some of the events and activities. So we got back to the hotel and got up to that room right after she made that announcement, and there were a couple folks coming out of the room as I was coming in the room and said, "Hey, someone just called for you on the mic." And I was like, what in the world? Who would be asking for me, and why on earth would they be asking for me? And shortly thereafter, few minutes after that, boom, here she comes. Oh, Kelly. Kelly is one of my homies that was in my company. When I said that it is humbling to be a part of this class because of how the quality and caliber, listen, I'm not blowing smoke when I say this lady is a rock star. She did very well at West Point, did very well in the military, goes off to Harvard Business School, crushes Harvard, goes off to McKinsey and Company Consulting. It's one of the top consulting firms in the world. She rocked McKinsey for a number of years. She is now the CEO of her own company. I mean, it's humbling. And she was the one that said, "Hey man, I just made an announcement for you, man. I miss you." Because she's from London. She lives in London, and I just was like stunned. I was trying to put it all together, man. Like, wow. It was humbling. It was humbling, and it just made me feel like $1 million. And I'm just so thankful. It was just a small gesture, big gesture that, we've known each other obviously for 25 years and have been connected here and there periodically throughout the 25 years. I was able to interview her. If you haven't heard her interview, she's got some great insights as well, amazing insights, and I can't wait to interview her again. But it just made the world just made me feel like $1 million. It just really meant a lot to me. And so again, the smallest gesture can make a massive impact, and she did. So thank you, Kelly. Again, not that she listens to my podcast, but if somehow she ever comes across this, Kelly, you are just a bundle of joy and energy and intellect, and I'm just excited for all that you are doing in London and to impact the world. It's been awesome to be homies with you. Next one, life is short. Life is short. We've lost classmates already. We've lost classmates years ago, and life is short. Next one, time flies. It seems like the older you get, the faster time flies. Next one, the most important currency to me is time. Some value money more, but say that time is most important. Observe actions over words. I'm so thankful that we chose to create a life based on our core values, time being one of those, and not just in lip service, not saying, oh, no, time is really important, but I'm going to continue to choose jobs that give me the most money, all in the name of, because I want more time. Okay, well, how long are you going to perpetuate that before you actually, live that? If time is important to you and family time is important to you, are you living that way? Let me see your time budget. We talked about a relationship budget earlier. Let me see your time budget. What does your time budget actually reflect and show? Does it show not what your words are, not what your thoughts are, not what your hopes are? Laying out your time budget over the past 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. What would it tell me based on your time investment that your true core values are? Not saying that family is most important, because that briefs well and that's socially acceptable. What would your actual time budget say is actually really important to you? Next one, you have no idea who's watching you. You have no idea who's watching you. Next one, you have no idea the impact you're making on someone else's life. I had a handful of classmates share with me over this past weekend. A handful of classmates shared some times that I had impacted them positively over the years, and even while at school. And I had no idea that it was impactful to them. It was another humbling experience. And one of my classmates, who I don't know that I've talked to since school, he was in a Bible study that I ran when I was a cadet. And he said, Noble, man, when I attended your Bible study, I was going through a really, really low, rough time in my life. And you absolutely helped me get through that tough time. Man, I had no idea. It was another very humbling. I was kind of speechless. I was like, man, thanks. But how do you say, how do you say thanks? I had no idea. I had no idea that he was going through a rough time. I had no idea that I was impacting him in a positive way. It was just a huge blessing, man, to hear that. I was just humbled. Again, it was neat. So again, you have no idea who's watching you, and you have no idea the impact that you're making on somebody else. Next one, it's exciting learning about and discovering people. It's exciting learning about and discovering new people. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stop there just for the sake of time, and this will be part 1. So the next episode will be part 2, and I'll probably pick up with that last one as my first one for the beginning of the next set of lessons learned. Again, thank you. What lessons have you, what life lessons when you have gone to a reunion have you picked up or thought about, or epiphanies about life or relationships have you had in a recent interaction or engagement? And I'm really excited to share the rest of these with you as well. I think I'm about halfway down this list. Well, man, I may have 3 episodes on this. We'll see, depending on time. So anyway, and let me know also, I'd love to hear from you. Either, again, you can put it in the podcast review. You can put it in the YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. You can send me a message, Noble, N-O-B-L-E, at eqgangster.com, N-O-B-L-E at eqgangster.com. And let me know which of those lessons impacted you the most, which one resonated the most with you. I'd love to hear from you. Or you can send me a message on Facebook, Instagram, all the different platforms and stuff, EQ Gangster, or on Instagram, it's the Noble Gibbons, and again, NOBLEGIBBENS. So, or again, EQ Gangster, all the different social media platforms. So thank you again for rating, reviewing, subscribing, sharing. If there's an episode that has really impacted you, man, please, I'd love it if you'd share a helpful episode that has really been impactful for you. And thank you for letting us be a part of your emotional growth journey and your emotional healing, your emotional health journey. You are worth it. Your friends are worth it. Your family is worth it. Your children are worth it. Your colleagues and company and organization are worth it. You becoming the best version of yourself. Emotionally healthy leaders and people help heal other people emotionally. Check us out at eqgangster.com.